Do you feel like everything around you has the power to hit you? A misplaced word, an unexpected silence, a senseless criticism, and suddenly, you no longer know who you are. You live oscillating between what others expect of you and what you try to be to survive. Your peace has become hostage to the instability of others, and you may not even realize how much this weakens you. But what if I told you there is a silent path, a hidden strength within you, capable of making you unshakable? It's not magic. It's practice. It's living philosophy. It's stoicism, in its rawest, most spiritual, and most transformative form. Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, men who understood that freedom begins when the mind frees itself from reaction. And in this video, you will discover the 10 Stoic principles that, if deeply understood, will make you emotionally sovereign, psychologically armored, and spiritually at peace, even when everything seems to be falling apart. Stay until the end, because every word was crafted to awaken something you already carry within: the strength to remain unshaken, the clarity of someone who no longer needs to react, the freedom of someone who knows where control lies. Write in the comments right now: "Nothing disturbs my inner peace," and let this be the seed of your transformation. No one offends you without your permission. Epictetus reveals why. Do you still get hurt by what others say? Perhaps because, without realizing it, you still allow it. Epictetus didn't need to shout to teach. He simply showed with serenity that no one has the power to hurt you unless you hand them that power on a platter. Allow events to penetrate it, and this invincibility is achieved when you stop trying to control what is beyond your control. The Stoic isn't indifferent because they don't feel. They are indifferent because they've understood what deserves their energy. They rise like a mountain, unshakable, present. Be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be dismayed. Joshua 1:9. Because this courage doesn't shout, it simply endures. When you realize that criticism says more about the other person than about you, something shifts. You don't get contaminated. You don't carry it. Napoleon Hill said, "Master your mind, or it will master you." And when you stop reacting, the provocation loses its fuel. Silence becomes armor. The absence of a response becomes presence. And if you want the world to stop testing you, stop letting it hit you. And prepare yourself, because the next step is learning to let go of what is beyond your control. Stop trying to control the uncontrollable. Epictetus's rule, Daperjum 1. You suffer because you still try to control what slips through your hands. But Epictetus reminds us firmly, some things are within our control, others are not. And suffering arises when we confuse these boundaries. The desire for control lures us with false security, but imprisons us. The tighter you grip, the more everything slips away. The Stoic mind lets go because it knows what doesn't depend on me doesn't define me, and in this lies a rare power. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and he will act. Psalm 37:5. Trusting isn't abandoning, it's recognizing limits. And within those limits, you flourish. You can't change others or prevent losses, but you can care for your response, and that is already a revolution. Freedom lives in that space, between what happens and how you choose to react. Jung said, "What you resist persists, but what you accept transforms." And accepting the uncontrollable is stopping the fight against the wind. It's looking at life with less demand and more surrender. It's finally preparing to remain unshakable in the face of provocations. The world will try to provoke you. Your reaction defines everything. Do you feel it? Sometimes it seems like the world was designed to test you. Words that hurt, silences that provoke, looks that challenge. But here's the detail: the world provokes, but you choose how to respond. Stoicism teaches that provocations reveal more about the provoker than about you. Those who try to throw you off balance expose their own imbalance. And when you understand this, you observe instead of react. Epictetus said it's not events that disturb us, but the judgments we make about them. And that judgment is your responsibility. Better is a patient person than a warrior. Proverbs 16:32. Because true power is controlling yourself. Those who learn to pause instead of explode begin to live above provocation. You become a mirror that doesn't return aggression, but reflection. Napoleon Hill reminds us that every adversity carries a seed, and provocation does too. It trains, it strengthens, it shows you where you still get lost. And when you master your own reaction, you're ready to stop caring about what others say about you. You are not what they say about you. Destroy the illusion of others' opinions. How many times have you lost yourself trying to be understood? The pain of not pleasing erodes silently, and the fear of judgment becomes a chain, but the truth sets you free. You are not what they say. You are what remains when everyone falls silent. The Stoic mind knows that others' opinions are projections, and you don't need to wear that reflection as truth. Epictetus said, "If it's a lie, laugh, because only the judgment that finds an unhealed wound hurts. When you know yourself, you let go." Do I seek to please men? If I did, I would not be a servant of Christ. Galatians 1:10. Even Jesus wasn't understood. Who are we to demand that? Jung said that what we deny in ourselves appears in others as fate. So, if it hurts, it's because there's still something to heal. Napoleon Hill said that others' opinions are the cheapest commodity in the world, yet we live as if they were a rare jewel. The free mind understands. True value lies in remaining whole, even when the world wants you broken. And when you live what is true, even others' anger dissolves in the face of your serenity. Control lies within you. The Stoic philosophy to never react with anger. Again, anger explodes when you still believe the other has power over you. But Epictetus shows us that it's just a choice, an automatic reaction born from our lack of presence. And you can break this cycle. Stoicism teaches pausing is stronger than responding. Observing is wiser than attacking. Better is one slow to anger than the mighty. Proverbs 16:32. Because defeating another may be great, but defeating yourself is eternal. When you don't let yourself be dragged, you remain sovereign. Anger, when accepted with awareness, doesn't burn you. It heals you. Jung said that what we resist persists, but what we face with presence dissolves. Napoleon Hill reinforces, control your mind, or it will control you. And when the Stoic mind takes the helm, even anger becomes an opportunity for growth. You are not what you feel. You are what you choose to do with what you feel. And every unexpressed anger is a hidden victory. The flame you extinguish within prevents the world from consuming you from without. When everything falls apart, remember this: it's not up to you. Tragedy doesn't warn you, and when it arrives, it rips the ground from under you. But the Stoic doesn't ask, why did this happen to me? But rather, what can I do with this? Epictetus teaches us to desire that life happens as it does, not as we wish it would. And in this desire aligned with reality, freedom is born. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Psalm 23:4. Because God is with me, and my mind remains awake. Chaos is real, but it doesn't need to dominate me, because there's something in me that doesn't break. Impermanence, when accepted, becomes reverence, and pain, when embraced, becomes wisdom. Jung said that what changes is not the fact, but the way we look at it. Napoleon Hill reminds us that every defeat hides a seed. So when everything seems lost, breathe. And remember, you don't control what comes, but you can choose what to do with it. And in that choice, the Stoic is born. Because those who accept chaos are ready to transcend judgment. Judgment is the source of suffering, and Epictetus knew it. Suffering doesn't come from what happened, but from what you thought about what happened. Epictetus said, "Things in themselves don't disturb us, but our view of them does. The mind is the lens, and if the lens is dirty, life will seem cruel." The Stoic learns to clean the gaze, to breathe before interpreting, to observe before reacting. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. When you change your gaze, even the past changes, because you no longer tell yourself the same story. Stoic maturity is this: not avoiding feeling, but educating perception. Jung said that when we touch a soul, we must be just another soul. This applies to yourself, too. By observing yourself without judgment, you embrace yourself. Napoleon Hill said, "Thoughts are things, and judgmental thoughts create real pain, but conscious thoughts create peace." So, the next time it hurts, ask, is this fact or interpretation? Because when you judge less, you suffer less. And then, yes, you're ready to live with the freedom of someone who no longer waits for understanding, but for presence. Live as if it were your last chance to be free. Tomorrow is a promise no one can sign, and the true Stoic knows this. That's why they live as if each dawn were existence's final whisper, not with haste, but with presence, not with fear, but with reverence. Epictetus taught us to contemplate death not as a threat, but as a compass, because remembering finitude makes every moment eternal. When you live as if it were your last chance to be free, you don't postpone sincere conversations, delay important decisions, or hide behind the mask of what others expect of you. You simply are. And this authenticity is unbearable for a world that thrives on appearances. The Stoic mind doesn't fear the end. It fears not having lived consciously. Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Psalm 90:12. Wisdom begins when the urgency of time awakens us. When the ephemeral touches our skin, all that was pride turns to dust. All that was haste turns to pause. You don't need to wait for a tragedy to awaken. It can be now. Because freedom isn't achieved with more time, but with more truth. And when you choose truth, you break free. From what binds you, from what holds you back, from what drags you down. Carl Jung said that the privilege of a lifetime is becoming who you are. But this privilege is only accessible to those who dare to cut the invisible threads the world imposes, to those who choose to live with intention, with presence, with wholeness. Napoleon Hill reminds us, thought, when allied with purpose, becomes an irresistible creative force. But purpose doesn't wait. It demands action today. So, ask yourself, if this were your last day, would you still hesitate? Or would you finally surrender to what has always called you but you postponed? Life is too short to be lived in fear, and too long to be wasted on what doesn't move you. Live as if it were your last chance to be free, because, in practice, it might be. And when you walk with this awareness, nothing in the world can hold you again. The Stoic mind. How to shield yourself against any attack. They can take everything from you, your position, respect. But there's one thing no one can touch. Your decision to remain at peace. And that's where the Stoic mind resides. It's not about being cold, but about being unperturbable. It's not about avoiding the world, but about not being shaped by it. True armor isn't in external shields, but in the firmness of a heart that no longer despairs in the face of injustice, criticism, or rejection. Epictetus taught that the essence of being lies in internal choice, not in circumstances. When you internalize this, no attack can break you, only tests that strengthen you. Because everything that comes from outside only finds shelter if you open the door within. And when that door remains closed to what doesn't build you, peace becomes constant, even when chaos insists on knocking. You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you. Isaiah 26:3. This steadfastness of purpose is the foundation of the Stoic mind. It's what sustains you when the winds are against you. When everything around you wants to drag you down, you remain, like a root that deepens when the storm threatens, like a rock that doesn't move before the roaring sea. Carl Jung said that the greatest tragedy of a human is to live unconscious of themselves, and external attacks only hurt when you don't know yourself. But when you awaken, every provocation becomes an opportunity for self-affirmation. Napoleon Hill said, "No one can defeat you unless you allow it." And allowing is granting access. It's giving power. But the Stoic no longer grants it. Because they understand that peace isn't the absence of conflict, but mastery over the mind in the midst of conflict. They practice silence as a sword, calm as a shield, awareness as an inviolable territory. And when you build this inner temple, nothing truly reaches you anymore. You become untouchable, not out of arrogance, but out of discernment. Because now you've understood that all true strength comes from what cannot be taken, and that lives within. You didn't reach this point by chance. Something in you is ready for this silent turning point. Transformation doesn't shout, it whispers. And maybe, deep down, you already know. What used to hurt you now only teaches you. What used to destabilize you now only reveals where you can still grow. You're no longer the same. Not because the world changed, but because you started to see differently. The Stoic mind isn't born ready. It's forged in the fire of presence, in the pain that turns into discipline, in the anger that turns into self-control, in the injustice that turns into wisdom. You don't need external answers. What you seek is already within, waiting for an attentive gaze. God hasn't abandoned you. He calls you to look inward, and when you silence the noise, the call becomes clear. Stay firm, because when you remain whole while everything tries to fragment you, you win. Carl Jung said that the hardest journey is the one that leads us to ourselves. And Napoleon Hill reminds us that the mind is the only territory where true wealth or ruin is built. So, choose, with courage, with presence, with faith. Which passage or metaphor touched you the most today? Share in the comments. Your reflection might be the seed of someone else's transformation. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and click the pinned link in the comments. There's extra content there to continue this journey with you. An ebook with daily reflections on Stoicism, designed to accompany you on your toughest days. Because your rebirth begins in the silence of your mind.